Good morning, colleagues. Legislature's back in session, still in the second reading. Next on our agenda is Bill number 121-38 COR. Senator Lujan, you are recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Happy Friday to everybody. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move Bill 10938 as introduced by myself and co-sponsored by, of course, Senator...
109 or 121? 121. So you want to do 121? You did. We did 109 last night.
Yes, sir. I'm reading the wrong script. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. 121, yes, 38, as introduced by myself, of course, and co-sponsored by Senator Duenas, Senator Borja, Vice Speaker Ada, Senator Calvo, Senator Bunya Barnes, Senator Salas Matanani, Senator San Augustine, Senator Gumataltal, and yourself, Speaker Blas. An act to amend Section 54B 102 of Chapter 54B, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to allowing for further exemptions to the Choose to Reuse Mga Maadziki Plastic Act of 2018. To the third reading file, and I would like to have the opportunity to speak on this measure, Mr. Speaker.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And good morning again, colleagues. I rise today in support of Bill 121-38 COR, a measure that seeks to provide a common sense exemption to the Choose to Reuse Mga Maadziki Plastic Act of 2018. Specifically, this bill would allow for branded paper bags to be exempt from the current ban on disposable carry-out bags. The intent of the original act was rooted in environmental stewardship, and we uphold that commitment. However, as policymakers, we must also be responsive to the evolving economic realities and challenges faced by our people. The testimonies provided by leaders in Guam's luxury retail sector, including Gemkel Guam, DFS Guam, make it clear branded bags are not just packaging. They are a core part of the luxury shopping experience. These bags are high quality, recyclable, reusable, and serve as an extension of the brand, which is critically important to our international visitors, particularly those from Asia, where presentation and gift-giving holds cultural significance. We also received supportive written testimony from the Guam Environmental Protection Agency, which clarified that branded bags do not contribute to environmental degradation or illegal dumping, and actually align with our sustainable goals. This endorsement by GEPA underscores that this exemption is environmentally responsible. And you know, Mr. Speaker, as a matter of fact, because it's coming up, this time sensitive, coming up the end of June, basically, where these bags will be banned as well. So it's time sensitive that this legislature, this body act, and governor act on that as well. And you know, Mr. Speaker, in meeting, the past few months, meeting with folks in the retail industry, and most especially the ones that are greatly challenged, that are looking to phase out of Guam, one of the things that they're saying is that, you know, with the recommendation is that this is not a silver bullet that will probably save their industry, but it might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for them to exit at a quicker pace. And so that being said, they also said that to manufacture or to get bags specifically for Guam would not be feasible for them. It's not economically feasible. Our market is way too small for them to be able to do that. And these branded bags that they have are worldwide bags. They're a part of their either luxury boutique or luxury brand. And so they won't do specifically one for that specific destination. So that being said, again, Mr. Speaker, it's a, again, common sense fix as an unintended consequence, I assume at this point. Colleagues, this bill is about balance. It's about ensuring that Guam remains competitive as a premier shopping destination while continuing to protect our environment. It is about recognizing that a one-size-fits-all policy may not be appropriate in a unique market like ours, where tourism and retail play a vital role in our economy. And with that, again, I urge my colleagues to, again, approve and pass this bill, because again, it's time sensitive, and retailers are really biting their nails in regards to what's going to happen the end of June if this doesn't pass. With that, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, gentlelady from Barrigada, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do have an amendment for the bill, and being that I was the sponsor that exempted them or extended the deadline for the banning of paper bags, I understand the urgency of this. And to reiterate, Guam EPA does support the bill, so I just want to read that. But they do have a recommendation. They recommend that the definition of branded bag be revised to any bag used by a retailer to any paper bag used by a retailer. They state the existing definition may inadvertently include plastic bags previously used for luxury goods in Guam to fall under that exemption. And they go on to say, as the sponsor of the bill says, that luxury retailers depend on premium bags to create their brand identity and improve the customer experience. And they don't believe that these bags will end up in be illegally dumped because of its value. And but they do recommend that the paper be included in the definition. And I understand that because otherwise we might have vendors out there that might stamp plastic, their brand on a plastic bag, and it's disposable, and that kind of undermines the purpose of this bill, of the law. So having said that, I would like to proffer this amendment. It is on line 1, page 4 of the bill. And
Has the amendment been submitted?
Yeah, yes, it has. And I believe it's been passed out.
You can proceed.
So what the amendment does is just adds paper to the exemption. So the exemption is on item 12, a branded bag. So we're exempting branded bags. Then it goes on to say, for the purpose of this section, a branded bag means any, and then this is what's added, paper bag used by a retailer that displays a name, logo, trademark, or other marks of distinction of the manufacturer of the product sold, and to allow legal and clerks to make technical corrections. So again, if without paper being in there, there could be a scenario where vendors out there can have plastic throwaway bags, and it could be legal because they stamped their name on it. And what this was meant for really was for the luxury items that have high value. They generally sell their products in high value bags, so which generally are coveted, not thrown out. So I ask for my colleagues' support on this.
On the amendment, gentleman from Tumuning, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the author of the amendment. I support the amendment with just one amendment to the amendment, Mr. Speaker, just to be in concert with line 2. It says, used by the retailer that displays a name, logo, trademark, or other marks of distinction of the manufacturer. I'd just like to add on, or retailer of the product sold. And the reason that being, Mr. Speaker, because, like, for example, Macy's or even DFS, Macy's is a retailer, they're not a manufacturer. And so if you were to buy things at Macy's now, and they're not the manufacturer, you won't be able to put those products in the bag. So, and even like DFS just recently, I guess it was about 2 months ago, where Guma opened up their space for local products. We don't want to force the local product makers to be able to have their own bags as well. So, you know, they're able to use duty-free bags, but they're not the manufacturer. Duty-free is not the manufacturer. They're a retailer. So all I want to do, and again, I agree with the amendment, I just with the amendment right after manufacturer, where it says distinction of the manufacturer or retailer of the product sold. So that's my amendment to the amendment.
Well, okay, why don't we do this? Because the amendment is actually to insert the word paper. We'll deal with that,
Yeah.
and then we'll deal with yours
Okay,
as an
okay.
amendment, okay?
You got it.
So on the amendment, just to insert the word paper, okay, so it'll read, a branded bag means any paper bag used by a retailer. On that amendment, any discussion? Sir?
Biba Betness, good morning to the people of Guam. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Happy Friday to everyone. I rise in strong support of this amendment. I thank my good colleague, the senator from the Love Handles of Guam, the Barragata, Sidus Masi, for the amendment, which I stand in support of. It's very consistent with the Guam Environmental Protection Agency's recommendations on the bill, which they actually supported with the recommendation that we add in the word paper to avoid, any inadvertent or intentional use of the plastic bag. So I stand in support of the amendment, Mr. Speaker, and I'm also very grateful that the main sponsor of the bill supports it as well. Sidus Masi.
Thank you. On the amendment? No further. On the amendment? Gentle lady from Zonia, you're recognized.
Yes, Jesus Masi, Mr. Speaker. I stand in support of this amendment also. I was going to make it myself, so I'm glad that Senator Perez has made this amendment. It seems to be in line with the request that we received prior to the bill being introduced, and that this will address their concerns sufficiently. So I support this amendment. Jesus Masi.
Thank you very much. On the amendment? No further? No further on the amendment? You want to close? Just like, okay. Any objections to the amendment? No objections, so ordered. Senator Perez, you still have the floor. That's it? Okay. Senator Lohan, I'll go back to you.
Back to my amendment. Yeah, thank you again. I'm glad that that amendment passed. I just want to, again, add an amendment to the previous amendment that was just passed. And again, on the last line, where it says distinction of the manufacturer or retailer of the product sold. And again, I want to reiterate that, for example, you have Macy's, who is not a manufacturer, but a retailer. So if they have a bag, I guess for every item there, based on this, it could be read that every item would have to have its own distinct bag from the manufacturer. And Macy's, again, is a retailer. Likewise, DFS is a luxury boutique as well. They're a luxury boutique, but they're not a manufacturer. They're a retail outlet. And just recently, about 2 months ago, we were down there where Guma had opened up, again, a spot for local vendors down there. And we don't want our local vendors as well to have to design their own bags and have it sold. They're currently using DFS bags, but this could be read that they won't be able to use those DFS paper bags because the DFS is not the manufacturer of that. So I just want, again, be in concert with the previous line where it says bag used by a retailer that displays the name, logo, trademark, or other marks of distinction of the manufacturer or retailer of the product sold. So that's my amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, I will go ahead and permit, for the sake of not having to cut down any trees for this. If you read the amendment, the wording, the verbiage will be, or other marks of distinction of the manufacturer and then, or retailer of the product sold. Of the manufacturer or retailer, okay, of the product sold. On that amendment, are there any senators wishing to speak on the amendment? None? Senator from Barragata, ma'am, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I believe this should be open up for discussion to the public. If I can share some of the insight from previous conversations, that it was spoken that perhaps if this paper bag was allowed for other entities, then perhaps there could be a charge that could then go into the recycling revolving fund. I mean, that was one discussion that was had in regards to paper bags, allowing paper bags in general. I know right now there's an exemption for food establishments, but now we're opening it up to more businesses. And of course, I, prefer more of the conversation at a public hearing so we can get all the input on this. The other thing just to keep in mind, I've, shopped at Macy's, and I think, we have to establish that habit of not so much relying on these throwaway bags. I think that's a good practice. And we were, we were able to do that, I think, for some time. And I think we may need to give it more time to inculcate those practices of not expecting throwaway bags, even though it's paper. Because one thing we know, even though it's compostable, potentially compostable material, and doesn't end up in our landfill for millennia, decades, right? The problem is it does have an environmental impact. When we talk about any type of consumable product, there's so much water, so much resources that are being used, which eventually can end up to adding to the problem of climate change. And so just a thought, I think that, it's worth discussing and bringing to the public. And I know Macy's has been able to do this without paper bags. And maybe let's give it more time to keep these practices going. And so I guess that's just my concern about adding this amendment. Yeah, to get more discussion, I think is important. So thank you.
Just to be clear, ma'am, are you objecting to the amendment?
Respectfully, yes.
All right. On the amendment, any other senator wishing to speak on the amendment? Good Senator from Tamuning, you're recognized.
This is Masi, Mr. Chair, and I guess I could have wheeled myself back and just asked the author of the amendment, but to get it on the record, I rise to support the amendment, but I need to ask a question of the author if he would so yield. So
what's the question?
So my understanding is this is to ensure that a retailer who also sells high-end merchandise to be able to be included as well, because as we know, the main bill is predominantly geared towards those who sell the high-end products that actually manufacture as well, meaning that they're selling at the point of sale with manufactured bags by the manufacturer to fit the product being sold, and Macy's as a retailer carries those similar products or products of high-end in nature as well, which need to be associated with a bag for branding purposes as well. So I just wanted to see if that was the goal here.
Would the author yield to the question?
I'll yield to the question. Can you repeat that again, please, Mr. Senator?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, the question basically is the attempt to include a retailer, because the retailer also sells high-end product that bags accompany as part of the branding and the product sale, as opposed to just the what we're aiming for here in terms of the stores that those bags are actually manufactured, but then you're trying to take it to the retail level because Macy's also sells high-end product.
Yes, that's exactly right, Mr. Speaker. Exactly right with that. And then also, again, as I said, duty-free is not a manufacturer. They're a retailer. They're a boutique, high-end retailer as well. And just recently, Guma had opened down there. Most, if not all, of the local vendors down there don't have their bags, and they use duty-free bags. Duty-free allows them to use their bags as well. And if you read this, they're not the duty-free will be probably hesitant to have them use their bags because they're not the manufacturer. And most products that you buy over there probably won't be able to be put on a duty-free bag because the duty-free is not the manufacturer, like Louis Vuitton and Chanel and all that. You won't have to worry because they have their own bags and they're the manufacturer of the product that they sell. But the retail or boutique outlet, they sell all other high-end products as well as lower-end products, but they use one universal bag. So if you go to a duty-free, whatever that duty-free brand is, worldwide, their bags are all the same. They're not made for a specific region or territory. And in this case, again, as we met with duty-free, should this bill not pass and come June, again, it won't be the silver bullet that will save him from leaving, but might be the camel that breaks the straw that breaks the camel's back, in the sense that it might just speed up their exit out of Guam, because our market is way too small to be able to, again, design a bag specifically for Guam, and they wouldn't do that. It's just too costly for the small market that we have. So again, in doing so here, yes, this covers the manufacturers, this covers the Louis Vuittons and the Chanels and all that, but it doesn't cover the manufacturer based on the read here. And so I just want to err on the side of caution, and that we include the retailers that sell these products of these particular manufacturers. Thank you, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Speaker.
Does that satisfy?
It certainly does, Mr. Speaker, and so I continue to then rise in support of the amendment, and with all due respect to the senator from Barragata, I think that we have to be careful not to create, kind of two standards for those who already have, that basis of having the manufacturer's product along with the carrying bag that they sell in and retail in, and I think that we need to include retail. So I hope we can get the support on the floor for this amendment to the amendment. So just Masi, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. On the amendment, good senator from Georgia, you recognize, sir.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
I rise to kind of echo the concerns of the senator from Barragata, as I believe that this amendment being proffered would inadvertently, maybe, I don't think it's intentional, allow every retailer on the island, I believe. If I could ask the author that question, would this amendment as written allow, let's say, Chutney Mart to have paper bags that say Chutney Mart?
Would the author of the amendment yield to the question?
If they manufacture a bag, in Chodi and they sell their products, yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, so I know that the intent of this bill was to help the high-end luxury brands like the Louis Vuittons and the Gucci's and all the other bags a lot of our people can't afford. And I was under the impression it was because they had printed a lot of stock and they didn't, with the downturn in tourism, maybe the tourists that are coming to Guam aren't buying the Gucci or the Givenchy. And so I thought, oh, but they have a lot of stock left over. But, effectively, if we're going to rescind the paper bag ban for just all the businesses, I think that, that's the bill that we should be entertaining. So just want to see, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. On the amendment, any other senator wishing? Gentle lady from Georgia, you're recognized.
So just want to say I understand the intent of this amendment, but I think it exceeds the scope of what was discussed at the public hearing, and that they were satisfied with the bill as written. I can't tell for sure because the testimony is not printed in the committee report. It's one of those linked things that we can't search through to find what we're looking for. Again, I agree with the previous speaker. If we put the word retailer back in, then we go back to every retailer on Guam, meaning every store. And I think that is way beyond the scope of what the original bill was supposed to do, and that was to make a very particular exemption. And if we are going to repeal this law for all retailers on Guam, including mom and pop stores, grocery stores, everybody, then we really should have another public hearing on that, I believe. Sidus Masi.
Thank you very much. On the amendment, are there any senators willing to speak on the amendment? No, Senator. Senator Lohan, you want to close?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier, again, you know, Fashion Hall at DFS or Aguma, Maker's Market has many local vendors that sell goods at, of course, DFS. So why make locals spend more when they are giving the big business a lot of money and a break, right? The win-win situation will be to allow for the retailer to use their bags and put local arts, crafts, even you know, whatever products they may be selling, even Denanchi at that, for this in this case, and the DFS branded bag. It's about the local guy, the locals trying to be entrepreneurs. Why make it even harder when costs are already so high? So again, with that, Mr. Speaker, you know, as with the other two bills I introduced in this session, it's again about, you know, trying to get an edge over our competition in this region. And this bill was crafted with a lot of information gathered from the retailers that are having a very hard time, and likewise are already putting exit plans to leave our island, which means the loss of many jobs. And so that being said, again, without this amendment to the amendment, it's not going to help out these folks that we're meeting with and had the concerns. So again, that being said, if you're looking at just the manufacturer, but we have retailers that sell these products as well and have their branded bags. And again, the biggest negativity on that is that we have local vendors that also sell in these boutique outlets. And for us to force them to now, again, add on to their costs and try and, again, just to make a living. And we're glad that the luxury boutique had given them an opportunity to sell their goods in their premises. Why make it even harder for the local vendor to try to survive? So with that, I ask my colleagues to support this amendment. Otherwise, what we're trying to do won't help the situation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. On the amendment, there has been an objection to the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please indicate by raising your hand. Amendment passes. Senator, any other senator wishing to? Good Senator from Tumuning, you're recognized. On the main motion, on the main bill.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker, just a short remark once again in support of 12138. Reiterating what I said at the public hearing, and we have a very, very, very fragile tourism industry. We had met with some of the DFS people several weeks ago, and their calculation is they'll be lucky if they can stay maybe a year, maybe 18 months at the longest, or maybe even shorter than the year, depending on how things go, simply because of what's going on in terms of our recovery. You know that DFS, Mr. Speaker, up in Saipan had closed. That was very painful for them. It was very painful for the company, but they had to make a business decision. Like the author said, this is not a panacea. This is not a silver bullet. But particularly for this market, as we try to hold on to those who would come to Guam, primarily one of their main goals is to shop, and particularly to shop and buy high-end goods, at duty-free, and other type of shops, including our retail outlets. You know, we know that by and large, of course, it just stands to reason that these are individuals who have a lot of spending power too. It's one of the things that the tourism market's trying to balance to continue to attract high-end guests with some of our premier hotels, of course, and our guests just in general. But we want to see what we can do to have these stores hold on, and hopefully better days will come. Hopefully the trade mission that the governor is on right now will yield a lot of guests from Taiwan, and I'm sure they're going to want to buy luxury goods as well. So we'll just hope for the best, Mr. Speaker, but I think anything we can do that give us any type of advantage to help in our recovery and sustain motion forward, and you know, is something that is absolutely imperative to try to recover within our tourism industry. So I thank the author for the bill. I was glad to be a co-sponsor, and I think that, like I said, not a panacea, but one more, you know, little thing to have in terms of our guests coming to Guam and that experience to hopefully recover at a faster pace. Itus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. You're welcome. On the bill, on the main bill, on the bill as amended. On the bill as amended. Any other senator? Gentlelady from Georgia, you're recognized.
Itus Masi, Mr. Speaker. I thought this bill was a slam dunk the way it was introduced. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to object to the bill. I think we have, by that amendment, backdoor completely repealed the law. And I don't think using tourism as the excuse to go back on our green policies is legitimate. It's not necessary. We need to bring tourists here. We need to do all of that work. But I don't think using this excuse of all the retailers in Guam need to brand their bags there now, their paper bags, and we're going back to that industry. If we wanted to do that, we should have been very transparent with the public and heard from them regarding that, and not done it in here like that was not even requested at the public hearing. No one requested that we amend the bill that way. They saw the bill, they testified in support of it as it was, and now it's a huge, it's not even a loophole, it's actually a real repeal of the ban on paper bags. It allows everyone to go back out and use it. And I'm saying, if they really believe that's the problem with Guam, that's the problem why we're not getting tourists, because we have a paper bag ban, I don't know. To me, it's a credibility problem. That's not our problem with tourism. We have other problems. We should address those, not use this as an excuse to just repeal our green policies. So, unfortunately, I think that's, I'm going to appeal to the sponsor of the bill. Like, let's not ruin this bill with these undercurrents of, you know, coming in here and doing something that we didn't tell the public that we were going to do. So, with respect, I'm going to have to object to this bill. Itus Masi.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? Gentleman from Georgia, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on the bill. I just think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that because the Caranels and the Gucci's and all the high-end luxury brand names can't use branded paper bags, that's why the tourists aren't coming. And if we pass this bill, it's a common theme, not just in this legislature, but in previous legislatures, that we have to sell our island short because in our head we're competing with all these other areas, and so we have to sass our island and our people to attract these investors or whatever the case may be, and then we end up selling our people short. I mean, if we're going to talk about tourism, let's talk about tourism. Right now, the market that we're getting from the tourists, you know, they're not in the Gucci. I don't even think they're in the Le Sport Sac. They're over at Kmart. They're buying kimchi bowl. They're shopping pretty much just like how us locals shop, right? You take a look around the island, the parks, the bathrooms, the abandoned hotels. I mean, you come from the airport, you go down the hill to Tuman, boom, you got the Verona Hotel right there, abandoned, boarded up. You look across the traffic light, you got Pacific Star, also abandoned. I think it's very clear what we need to do to fix tourism is we have to fix ourselves. Make our area clean, not Gus Gus Guam, like Dr. Akimoto likes to say. And so for this bill, I agree with the retiring speaker. It seemed pretty easy. You know, we're going to go in there surgically and we're going to give these luxury brands the ability to use the bags. And I was kind of puzzled when the amendment that just passed was being referred to as the amendment to the amendment, because the amendment that we passed from the good senator from Barragata just added one word, paper. The amendment that we just passed actually amended the bill. So this was in the bill. This was the bill that was heard. This was the bill that received the favorable testimony. We didn't have a public hearing on a bill that was going to repeal the paper bag ban for everybody across the island. And you know, it's had its fair share of criticism, and it was a rough transition, but you know, we've gotten used to the green policy, the reusable bags. It's become habit, right? I mean, I go in the back of my car, I got like 20 reusable bags, right? I send the reusable bags to my mom in the States because they say Guam, you know, like our retailers and everybody, they've gotten behind this policy, and they have actually successfully changed a lot of people's mindset with something as simple as we don't want to use plastic bags anymore. We want to reduce, reuse, recycle. And like I said, although there were critics of it, I think that's a pretty good accomplishment, and we should use that model in other areas where, you know, our environment faces challenges. And so, again, I see the theme that we need to, you know, and I don't agree with it, that we need to bend over backwards and do backflips to attract these people, or, oh God, they're gonna go somewhere else, so we just have to drop our drawers and give them the best deal possible. I think we need to be assertive, and we need to stand up for ourselves as a destination and bring, you know, real meaningful investments to our island. And we do that by maintaining what visitors used to come here for, our natural beauty as a destination, our beaches, our island, our culture. And so thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on the bill, which I think has fundamentally changed in a big way from the version that was heard in the public hearing with this amendment to the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended, gentleman from Talafofo, you're recognized.
Hafa and good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for allowing me this morning to share brief comments as a co-sponsor of Bill 121. I support this initiative because it is a small but important way of supporting businesses by providing policy clarification, specifically an exemption to the plastic bag ban that was established by Guam law on May 13, 2022. Recognizing that during the public hearing on Bill 121, branded bags were described as part of a business's product identity. I find no issue supporting this measure because the companies that want this policy clarification are willing, ready, and are able to follow the law. They asked during the public hearings of the 2022 measure 3 years ago, as Bill 121's legislative intent notes. The luxury retail establishment requested for an exemption reiterated in committee, but were never incorporated. 3 years later, Mr. Speaker, this Guam legislature has listened. This supports all retail businesses that use branded bags. I think it is fair for all retail businesses island-wide in 2025. Mr. Speaker, do you see branded bags on the side of the road? Have our hardworking maintenance staff here at the Guam legislature found branded bags at Skinner Plaza or the Plaza de España whenever they clean and maintain these parks in the area that are enjoyed by residents and tourists alike? I think we all know the answer to that, Mr. Speaker. If any citizen of our island chooses to blatantly disregard our litter laws and the environment for which these laws are meant to protect and preserve, they could care less about what the kind of item, made of plastic, paper, or otherwise, that's going to be thrown out of their car windows or just dropped at any one of our parks in violation of the law. With that, Mr. Speaker, branded bags are especially critical to our collective goal of strengthening our businesses by providing them with the public policies, processes, and supports which are needed at a time when not just our tourism industry, but our entire economy continues to struggle and working to recover. Bill 121 responds to a request, yes, by many in our tourism industry for benefit to all retailers on Guam. And I thank the author for his work in moving this particular measure forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time this morning.
Thank you, Senator. On the bill as amended, any other senator wishing to speak on the bill? Gentleman from Momong Totomaiti, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I listened to one of the comments of the retiring speaker, one of the retiring speakers, I found myself convinced they were correct. A couple years into this change in how we carry our goods, it has become a habit. I forget my reusable bag at home. I know that's on me. I guess I'm carrying my milk and bread in my arms today. And I think a lot of people have kind of adopted this new mindset, and I think that's good. I think that it's good that we were able to collectively build this greener habit into our community. And there was a little bit of a transition period. There was critiques. I myself was a critic of it. But seeing the effects of it several years out, I do think there was some merit to the approach. And today I find myself conflicted because of that, because on the one hand, I do believe that the policy has been working, but on the other hand, I also see the concerns, especially for a very specific market like the luxury brand market, where things like designer bags are part of the whole experience. And so I wouldn't want to push those businesses out. And so I agree to the idea of a carve-out for these luxury businesses. It's a unique circumstance relative to their business model. Okay, there's some nuance there. We'll work around it. And I see the changes today are not so specific. As one of the retiring speakers said, this bill seems to have opened the door for all retailers. And this is where the conflict comes for me, because on the one hand, I believe in principles like equal protection under law. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If the luxury retail people could use paper bags, everybody should be able to use paper bags. That makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, we see that the policy is working. There's a significant decrease in plastic and paper overall. We see the efficacy on community behavior in terms of people buying into this greener habit. And so it's with that apprehension that, you know, maybe we have to rethink how widespread we want this repeal to be. Because I'm with one of the previous speakers. We talked about a specific carve-out for luxury brands and luxury companies. And so, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to vote on this bill. On the one hand, I think parts of it are necessary, but on the other, I think some parts of it is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so I'm going to think on this bill, keep an open mind about it, listen to any further discussion. But I'm on board with the idea of a luxury carve-out for these brands for their business model. But I have to pause a little bit at the wisdom of taking that step back and allowing it for just general use. The people of Guam deserve to have a legislature that will fight to keep their island clean and the environment protected. Legislature also has a responsibility to make sure the island is prosperous. A balance must be struck between the two. Because this island is our home. It's the only Guam in the world. There'll be no other place like it. So let's not squander it by being short-sighted. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended. On the bill as amended. Any other senator willing to speak on the bill as amended? Well, Senator Lohan, you want to close?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues, for that dialogue. And again, this bill is born out of concerns from the industry, and as the chair for tourism and aviation, maritime, these are the concerns of the industry that I oversee. And so this didn't just come in the past 2 weeks. It's been months in research and continued dialogue with industry folks and the challenges they have. And as we all know, that when the plastic bill ban went into effect, there were carve-outs already. There were carve-outs for hardware stores, for plastic, for nails and all that. Grocery stores for plastic, for vegetables. Restaurants are carved out as well. And so, you know, a previous statement made that this is not what was wrong with tourism. Exactly. But when we holistically look at some of the challenges that we have, alongside what do we do to bring tourism back to where it was and to enhance it even more and to be competitive against all our competitors that are surrounding us. And we look at regressive statutes that are in place. And these are some of the things, again, that the industry folks are saying, you know, we have this ban coming up and we're already greatly challenged. This is just another layer of a big challenge added on to something that industry-wide hasn't solved yet. And it's just another hurdle that you're putting the adding on to the already existing challenges that we have. So it's not, again, as the gentleman from Tamuning mentioned, it's not a panacea, but it could be the one thing, again, that would cause a greater or accelerated time for maybe exiting for some of these industries. And to help to try to salvage it, again, would it? I don't know. But these are some of the input that was asked of us as lawmakers to try to help them out as well. Because in the initial bill, things were carved out to help out other industries that relied on coverings or containers for their products. And so this is the same thing. And what's even harder, again, is we have quite a few, we encourage local entrepreneurs. We encourage them. We have programs, very successful programs. GUMA is a very successful program. And it's so successful that they're recognized again by a boutique outlet and gave them their own space to sell their products. But those folks are saying, man, you're making it even harder for us. Here we are just, we finally got into the door, and you're going to make it even harder for us. So for the folks in here that, just hate big business, because they're the bad guys, how about the small guys? How about the small guys that we encourage? And whenever there's graduation, we all, hey, good, man, my licking on. Yeah, that's great. So, again, as we strive to rebuild our economy, Mr. Speaker, and welcome back, again, international visitors, we must empower our businesses to succeed without compromising, of course, our island's value, right? The proposed exemption for branded bags strikes a balance. The quote testimony received banning luxury paper bags, shopping bags will discourage sales of luxury products in Guam with resultant adverse effects on Guam economic activity and businesses and gross receipts tax revenues. We simply cannot afford. And again, is this a panacea? Is this something, the silver bullet that will save them? I mean, we've got Lotte is already working on an exit plan. Duty Free has said they're giving themselves 12 to 18 months, if that. The loss of jobs. 2 hotels are up for sale again, if not more. The good news is there's going to be another hotel that's going to be built. So, again, in our challenging times, the challenged times that we have, and looking at regressive statute or laws that we can carve out to help get us back into economic prosperity. These are some of the things. This, alongside 2 other bills I introduced this session, does exactly that. Meeting with industry folks and talking about the challenges and the tools and mechanisms to be able to arm ourselves, to be able to, again, to try to get back to where we once were, or even exceed that. Knowing that our competition is all over. All we have to do is look at the neighbors to the north, the CNMI. Their duty free is closed down. Their hotels are closing down. This bill is not about giving up our green movement or going green. This is a balance. This is a balance. And to add on to another green, bring in more green to our community. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I encourage my colleagues to vote positively and vote yes on Bill 121-38 CRR. Again, this is, as most of you in here sit in my committee, you have met with our industry folks, and you've heard their concerns. And so with that, it's in our hands. And again, these are the small things that we can gnaw at to be able to help, maybe in a small way, some of them in a little bigger way, to get our industry back up and be competitive again in this part of the world. With that, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place Bill 121-38 CR down third reading.
You object?
Yeah, recess, Mr. Speaker.
Take a moment's recess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Back from recess.
I move to place Bill 121-38 COR down third reading, Mr. Speaker,
As amended?
as amended.
There is a motion to move Bill 121-38 COR as amended on the floor to the third reading. There has been an objection. All those in favor of the motion to move Bill 121-38 COR as amended to the third reading, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You're very welcome. Next bill, Bill 129-38 COR by Senator Cabo. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Have a day and buenas, everyone. Sijus Masi to everyone who are here today. Mr. Speaker, I move to place into the third reading file Bill number 129-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Child Welfare, Youth Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women's Affairs, Disability Services, the Arts, Culture, Historic Preservation, and Agatna Restoration. Bill number 129-38 COR was introduced by myself, Senator Shelley V. Calvo, entitled An Act to Add a New Section 1041 to Chapter 10, Title 1, Guam Code Annotated, relative to establishing February 21 of each year as Saanen Hilanana Mother Language Day. Mr. Speaker, I wish to discuss the bill.
You can proceed.
Before I give my opening statement as the bill's primary sponsor, I would like to move to append a testimony from Anna Marie B. Arceo, COO and Principal of Magalahin Hurao Chamorro Academy Charter School, to be part of the committee report for Bill number 129-38 COR as amended. For the listening audience, Ms. Arceo's written testimony, which expressed support for both Bill number 129-38 COR and Bill number 130-38 COR, which I will discuss later, was submitted to my committee after the committee report was filed with the Committee on Rules. When Ms. Arceo's testimony was submitted to COR, I was advised to make a motion on the floor to append the written testimony to the committee reports. I will be making the same motion during the discussion of Bill number 130 to append the same testimony to its respective committee report. So at this time, I would like to move to append Ms. Arceo's testimony to the committee report for Bill number 129-38 COR as amended.
Do you want to wait until it gets over? You want to go ahead and read it, and it's going to be passed out?
Buenas and half a day, Honorable Senator Calvo, si Ana Marie Blas Arceo Dzuda Hugov Supote Este Siha na Priniponi Bill number 129-38 COR, not only as the former two-time administrator of the Commission Ifinot Chamorro, but also as the founder of Chief Hurao Academy. I stand in strong support of these proposed legislation that seeks to standardize our Chamorro orthography in all things, restore Chamorro traditional place names, give honor to celebrating our mother tongue, and increase stipends to our elders and commission. Ifinot Chamorro Board, a government agency who have long been entrusted with the revitalization of our indigenous language and heritage. This legislation is not just a policy decision. It is an act of cultural survival and justice. For generations, the language, place names, and ancestral knowledge of our people were silenced through colonization, assimilation policies, and systematic neglect. Today, we have a moral and cultural obligation to reverse this course, standardizing our orthography as a vital step in this process. It provides a unified foundation for teaching, publishing, and transmitting the language across generations, schools, and communities. A consistent writing system affirms our language's legitimacy and supports its inclusion in public signage, education, and media. Restoring our original Chamorro place names is equally critical. Our original place names are not just words. They are encoded with history, ecological knowledge, and sacred meaning. They reconnect us to our land and ancestors in ways that colonial names never could. Restoring them is not only a symbolic act, it is a restoration of indigenous sovereignty and worldview. Finally, by honoring International Mother Tongue Day through this legislation, it is a vital step toward preserving linguistic diversity and cultural heritage. Our mother tongue is more than just means of communication. It is a vessel of our identity, tradition, and community. By officially recognizing this day, we affirm the value of our Chamorro language spoken in our community. It promotes inclusion, education, and encourages younger generation to embrace and protect our Chamorro language. This legislation would not only celebrate our rich cultural tapestry, but also strengthen unity through respect for our diverse roots. This legislation honors the wisdom of our elders and the aspirations of our youth. It ensures that our language and culture are not artifacts of the past, but living, evolving forces of our future. I urge you to pass these bills and stand on the right side of history for our people, our language, and the generations to come. Sijus Masi, Ana Marie B. Arceo, COO and Principal, Magalahan, Hurao, Chamorro Academy Charter School.
Thank you very much. The letter that she has written is on the drive, okay? That's to be appended. You can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to present Bill number 129-38 COR as amended, a measure that seeks to formally establish February 21st of each year as Haanan Hilanana, or Mother Language Day in the territory of Guam. This proposal represents a meaningful and forward-looking commitment to the preservation and revitalization of the Chamorro language, Ifino Chamorro, and recognizes its deep significance to our island's identity, heritage, and cultural continuity. The Chamorro language has shaped generations of our people, embedding in them a sense of place, purpose, and connection to our ancestors. It is an expression of who we are, where we come from, and how we relate to each other and to the land that sustains us. Over time, however, the daily use and integrational transmission of Ifino Chamorro have diminished. Without conscious effort to promote it, to celebrate it, and encourage its use, we risk losing more than vocabulary. We risk losing history, knowledge, systems, and a vital part of Guam, and an essential part of our community's soul. Bill number 129-38 provides an opportunity each year to shine a light in this vital part of our island's identity. By aligning Guam's observance with UNESCO's International Mother Language Day and within the framework of the United Nations Decade of Indigenous Languages from 2022 to 2032, we are reinforcing our commitment to global efforts while tailoring them to specific needs and strengths of our island. This day of observance is intended to encourage schools to engage students in cultural programming, empower families to embrace language use in their homes, and create space for civic institutions and media to highlight the importance of linguistic diversity and the Chamorro heritage. During the public hearing, Mr. Speaker, strong support was expressed by I-Commission, Ifino Chamorro Dyan Ifinanagan, Historia Dyan Ilinala Tautautano, who not only welcomed the responsibility to coordinate observance activities, but emphasized that this day complements work already being done throughout the year. Their testimony highlighted the importance of visibility, celebration, and education in strengthening language use across generations and across sectors of our community. In response to recommendations raised during the hearing, this bill has been amended to provide greater flexibility to both the governor and commission. The updated language authorizes rather than mandates the issuance of an annual proclamation by the governor and clarifies that the commission may, rather than shall, plan and coordinate observances, allowing them to do so in collaboration with other community partners and according to available capacity. These changes preserve the intent of the bill while respecting the operational realities of our government entities. Mr. Speaker, this legislation is not about imposing requirements or creating additional burdens. It is about elevating our values and affirming our shared responsibility to protect what is sacred for Guam, what is sacred for our island. It is about recognizing that language preservation is a long-term endeavor, one that requires both institutional support and community participation. I respectfully urge my colleagues to join me in advancing this measure as a reflection of our respect for our history, our culture, and our people. Through this observation, we can reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that the Chamorro language continues to be spoken, taught, and cherished. On February 21st and every day thereafter, and so on. Siduous Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the bill, gentleman from Momototomaiti, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in full support for Bill 129-38, introduced by my colleague and friend, Senator Shelley Calvo. Time and again this session, my good friend has reminded this body what it means to lead with compassion. She cares, not just as a slogan, but as a truth she lives with every piece of legislation she authors. And this bill is no exception. My good friend and I share something rare in this hall. We were both born in the Philippines. We are both native speakers of Tagalog. And we both carry the deep understanding that our mother language is fundamental to our identity. Alam natin kung anong kahulugan ng wika. Ito'y ay alaala, ito'y ay pagmamahal. We know the meaning of language. It is memory, it is love. My wife Camille teaches Tagalog to local students right here on Guam, so they too can hold on to their mother language. And my daughter, little Kamimi, she will grow up speaking Tagalog as well, her mother language. And I wish the same for every Chamorro child on this island. When a child hears their grandmother say, "Hugwaid Zahao," something powerful happens. Love, identity, and belonging are transmitted in the way no translation could ever match. This bill ensures every February 21st, we pause to honor our island's mother language. And in doing so, it tells every child, your language matters, Your culture matters. Your voice matters. As someone who is not Chamorro, I do not speak today to define the Chamorro experience. I speak only as an ally, as a son of this island, and someone who understands what it means to have your mother language and what a miracle it is to pass it on. Let this bill be part of a larger commitment to decolonization. Let us uplift not only land back, but language back. To Senator Calvo, salamat ate. Thank you for your excellent legislation this session. You reminded us that this island's beauty is not just in its beaches, but in its language, in every word passed down, every lullaby song sung in Chamorro, or Tagalog, or Ilocano, or Chuukese, or Korean, or any other mother language spoken on this island. We are many cultures, many stories, but every story begins with a mother tongue. So I ask my colleagues to please vote yes on this legislation. Let us do our part to honor the mother language of Guam. I ask my colleagues to vote yes. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, good Senator from Telephone, will you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak in support of Bill 129-38. By declaring February 21 of each year as Ha'anen Hila Nana, this bill is another important step forward in our collective effort to honor our Chamorro language and culture. Mr. Speaker, this bill is about more than setting aside one day out of the year to promote the preservation, revitalization, and celebration of indigenous languages with special recognition of the Chamorro language as the native tongue of the people of Guam. I consider Bill 129 as one of several policy proposals that must be considered to help stabilize, reimagine, and strengthen perhaps one of our most important industries, and that is tourism moving forward. Mr. Speaker, it should be no secret to any of us in this hall that tourism is struggling to recover. It is now on to almost June 2025, and visitor arrivals are still at 42% of our pre-COVID 2019 levels. Yet, as we are spending more and more and more taxpayer dollars on many other things in this government that have honestly done little to help improve the Guam product. Mr. Speaker, like hundreds, if not thousands, of residents across our island, just want to share a quick story. My family and I made our way to Hoggett this past weekend, and notwithstanding the 1-hour wait to get into the village, sitting there from the fuel station in Upper Heights to get to the Sagan Basita, I'll just say I and my family enjoyed every single moment of our time at the annual Mango Festival. Mr. Speaker, should festivals like the one in Hoggett be limited to just one weekend out of the year? Similarly, should our Chamorro language be celebrated every year just on February 21st? Well, my answer is no. With Bill 129-38, we have a real opportunity to focus our time, our resources, and our energy collectively on prioritizing our Chamorro language and our culture to help rebuild, yes, to rebuild our tourism industry and to honor our island's rich cultural history. This bill helps to get us closer to, as was penned recently in a local media newspaper, suggesting that we need to shift from a model that's dominated by retail and beach resorts to one that centers Chamorro heritage, local cuisine, and our island life as defining features of the Guam brand. Mr. Speaker, it is my hope that through the adoption of Bill 129-38, our island will heed the call to act, and to act soon, to stabilize tourism, to reimagine tourism, to strengthen tourism, but importantly, to strengthen Guam now and into the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time this morning.
You're very welcome. On the bill. Any senator wishing to speak on the bill? Gentlelady from Zonia, you're recognized.
I rise in support of this bill. This bill would formally recognize Ha'anin Hilatnana on February 21. The bill says we're going to do this because language is more than a tool for communication. It carries the values, worldviews, stories, and ancestral wisdom of the Chamorro people, shaping how generations understood their environment, relationships, and responsibilities. These are the same findings that the world has made through the United Nations of the importance of recognizing indigenous languages and knowledge, the importance of growing those, especially when they are at risk. The United Nations, we join them in recognizing this day, as they have done throughout the world for many years, because according to the United Nations, global recognition of importance to the world of indigenous languages and knowledge, the importance of diversity in language, and the importance to education of indigenous languages is something worth preserving and growing in the world for the benefit of all. And I was very honored on the first celebration of Ha'anin Hilatnana to participate, and it was very moving. And the Commission, Gifino Chamorro, they really did a great job in bringing us all together and showing us the importance of celebrating that. But most of all, it was beautiful, but it was inspiring. Just like many of our other celebrations of Chamorro language and culture, on our special holidays, throughout Miss Chamorro, through our nonprofits, businesses, our agencies, our schools. We have, as a government and a community, tried to put our resources towards this, towards the inspiration that celebrating our language and culture brings, towards the actual knowledge of learning and promoting and preserving our language and culture brings, and really so many other benefits to it. As one of my colleagues said, tourism, that's a side bonus. It's really, but it is going to growing the identity of our children in Chamorro is really going to make them resilient for what the world is going to bring, for everything they're going to have to go through. It is going to connect them to those before us, and that resilience that they will need, and that resilience that our people had in fighting for their land, in persevering through occupation and death and destruction and rebuilding and everything that they have done before us. And so I thank the sponsor for, in addition to all those efforts that have been done kind of by the agency, by the commission, we're going to put this now into a statute. It's going to be recognized throughout the island, and it will be all of our duty to help them to celebrate, to help them to recognize, and help them to inspire all of our children of the importance and the benefit of this. I'm especially grateful that the bill recognizes in its findings that there is a decline in everyday use and intergenerational transmission, and that the Chamorro language is at risk. This is, again, what binds us with other countries that the United Nations has recognized. Languages at risk. Those are on, and we must act urgently. So I think recognizing that it is at risk is also very important, and will help us, this formal day will help us to remind us to do a check. Are we improving or are we declining in this risk? So I support the bill, and I'm looking forward to improving those numbers, improving what we can do to shore up our children for what they must go through without us in the future. Sijus Masi, and thank you to the sponsor.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, ranking member from Order, Pago Bay, you're recognized. You know the top of the hill next to South Pago?
Thank you, Sijus Masi. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to rise and speak in support of Bill 129-38 COR as introduced by the good, beautiful senator from Barrigada. You know, as I listened closely to the retiring speaker and share her sentiments, I really just want to thank the good senator from Barrigada for taking such an active role in preserving our indigenous language. You know, Mr. Speaker, her advocacy as an ally, as a Filipina, a native Filipina ally, shows that this is not just an issue for Chamorro people to care about, but for everyone, Mr. Speaker, that calls our beautiful island of Guam home. You know, Mr. Speaker, this Bill 129-38 ensures that this government and our wider community will always include efforts to keep our mother tongue alive. And I literally hope that we can one day celebrate Ha'anin Hila Natnya Kada Dia, right? Every day. You know, when I was also looking at the bill as amended, we as an August body find that the language this language, our Chamorro language, is an expression of who we are, right? Our culture, the preservation, and the viability to the survival of our people's history and identity. And I'd be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if I didn't share with you about me going to the graduation at Horao, the first graduation for Horao Charter Academy that happened several days ago. fifth graders getting promoted to the sixth grade. But seven students, 5 girls and 2 boys, were immersed in speaking our Chamorro language clearly. It made me feel really benedosa as one of my nieces, and I'm going to mention her name. Her name is Damaria Munya. They call her Mungi, and she is the daughter of my brother Juan Munya, my baby brother Juan. And to see this fifth grader speak the language fluently, to speak, to understand, and to also say the Nabena and the Lasadzu in Chamorro, I get really heartfelt when she does the rosary for families every time. When she says the blessing of the food in the Chamorro, when her and my grandson, when Mungi and my grandson say the blessing of the food in Chamorro, and really asking our Heavenly Father to bless us in our native tongue at this very young age. I wish you and I had that opportunity. You and I grew up together, and we were forced to speak the English language at school. We couldn't speak our language, right? Because Sister, not Sister Gloria, but some of the other nuns would literally be mindful about or telling us that we had to speak English. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand in full support and really thank the good senator for this, and I kindly ask my colleagues to support this measure because language is the keystone to our future. Because the hitting in the meaning of our words is our history. Because when we lose our mother language, when we lose our mother tongue, I want to say we lose the most valuable part of our identity. And Mr. Speaker, you and I know that if we don't continue to try and advocate and to promote and try to preserve our language, we will lose this identity within the next decade or so. We will lose our identity as Chamorro people. And I just want to thank all those who continue who are out there. Chamorro Commission, to the Horal Charter Academy, to all the nonprofit organizations, the Chamorro Nursery that's out there, who continue to try and teach our children to speak our language. I thank them. So, Dunklin Sidzus Maasi for giving me the opportunity to speak and rise in support of this bill, and I ask my colleagues to support the same. Sidzus Maasi and Sidzus Bini DC.
Sidzus Maasi, Senador. Alzitalo ni Senador Malagon, comentos. Vice Speaker, recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise in full support of Bill 129-38 COR. Mother Tongue Day, February 21st, will be a day that we get to all celebrate worldwide our local language. And it's a powerful reminder of the importance of preserving and celebrating the Chamorro language, Ifino Mananaita, the language of our ancestors. It's more than just words. It carries the history, the identity, and the soul of the Chamorro people. That day and every day, we honor the resilience of our language and the efforts of those who continue to teach speak, and advocate for its survival. We all learn every day, a word, 2 words, a phrase. But as long as we continue to carry on that advocacy of spreading our language. Language is the heartbeat of our culture, and every Chamorro word spoken is an act of preservation, the bridge between generations and the declaration that our heritage will not fade away. You know, Mr. Speaker, I've worked with the sponsor in doing what we can to amend our standing rules here in the legislature. And we continue to work on it to include a section that all members of this body and all employees within the legislative branch, upon the initial start of a term, that as we all are required to take an ethics class, that we take a history in Chamorro. Not just in our language, but in the history. And we continue to work, the sponsor and I continue to work with that on putting it together so that we can incorporate it into our standing rules so that future legislatures can be able to say that not only do we advocate and we work to pass our laws here, but we also advocate to help and preserve our culture and our language. We always have to recommit ourselves to speaking, learning, and sharing Chamorro with pride, whether through conversation, storytelling, music especially, or education. Every effort strengthens the foundation for future generations. Ahanyan Hilat Nana, Mother Tongue Day. It's not just a celebration, but it's a recognition of our culture and our heritage, and most especially our language. So again, I rise in full support, and I ask the sponsor of this legislation that I would like to also be a co-sponsor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the bill, the gentlelady from Tumuning, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon to my colleagues. Bill 129-38. I am so looking forward to February 21st next year to see the celebration and how the Commission is going to reach out to our community and encourage our community to speak our native language. This is going to be a very exciting event for them and for all of us, because this bill is powerful, a powerful affirmation of Guam's identity, its heritage, and a vital role of the Chamorro language. You know, language is more than just words. It carries history, it carries wisdom and culture, and how we shape how our people view the world. By officially designating February 21st as Ha'anen Hila Nana, Mother Language Day, this legislation ensures the ongoing preservation and revitalization of Ifino Chamorro. It safeguards it from future generations. It aligns with global efforts to protect indigenous languages, recognizing their irreplaceable value in shaping a community's resilience, and especially its legacy. This is more than a symbolic gesture, my colleagues. It is a commitment to honoring the soul of Guam. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the bill, gentlelady from Barriguada, you had your hand raised. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to my colleagues. I rise in support of this bill. I think it's a call to action, really. If you listened to the chairwoman of E-Commission, Dr. Laura Souder. She urged us to create spaces for the Chamorro language. She says that we can do this together, but it's not going to be easy because the environment in which indigenous language and cultures thrive has been dramatically impacted by colonization, modernization, and globalization. She further states something revolutionary needs to be done to turn things around because if not, by 2060, the Chamorro language would not be spoken. She says it's like trying to grow an orchid in a desert, so we need to create these environments in our homes, in our places of work, school, so children know that Chamorro is important. And children will know Chamorro practices are important because we continue to practice them. She also says we've never been at this point in our lives as a people, as an indigenous people, where we have to make a constant and deliberate effort to preserve our language, which has been preserved over 4,000 years. Our language is that old and that precious. It is up to our generations now to make sure we do everything we can possibly to ensure that the next generation learns from us. And so in speaking with Dr. Souder, they've developed a plan to revitalize the language. And if we look at other areas such as New Zealand and Hawaii, they have been successful, but we haven't. And we have had this program for over 50 years, so something's not working. And the idea is that we really need to increase the use of the language, for instance, in our schools. I believe it's 20 minutes a day. One of the recommendations is that we should treat Chamorro language as a language arts where it would be required to be spoken 600 minutes a day. And that's just one recommendation. The idea of language revitalization also requires immersion. We are in a society that speaks predominantly English. And so the chances of revitalization is hampered by that. And so we really need to create those institutions of learning that immerse students in the language, just like what Anne-Marie Arceo has done and has done so long and beautifully. So yeah, there is a plan to bring revitalization of our language. And like a retiring speaker said, this is just one measure. But the other thing is I do have a measure too in regards to literacy. So what's important to know is that in development of a child, learning language begins very early on before they even enter school. And that is a time to really inculcate our youth. And so perhaps we need to rethink our education and how we approach this if we want to make a change. It's been 50 years since we've implemented these programs, but we haven't seen the gains as other jurisdictions have. But there is a way forward. And I'm really looking forward to working with my colleagues to make these policies a reality. So I thank the sponsor for this legislation to remind us the value that could slip through our fingers if we don't do something today. Since it was Masi.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, any other? Gentlelady from Hoggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a proud daughter of Guahan, I am in absolute full support of this legislation establishing February 21st of each year as Ha'anen Hila Nana, Mother Language Day. And just for me, growing up, a lot of my childhood was off island. And my family, my mother, my father, they always spoke to us in Chamorro to perpetuate our culture. And I feel bad because I can understand Chamorro, I just can't speak it that well. But every time I'd visit them, after I moved to Guam, it was like, Kuma Malakau, you know. I know that's probably not the way you say it, but I would always try to speak Chamorro to them, and then they would laugh, but they were like, you know, you're trying, and that's what you should do. And so February 21st, this bill, it really is a check not just for me that I need to do better, but it also is a check for all of us that we need to do better in perpetuating our culture and our language and our identity. And I am just grateful to Senator Calvo for introducing this legislation, and I also would like to request that I be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, no other senators wishing to speak on the bill. Senator Calvo, you can close on the bill.
Sijus Masi, Mr. Speaker, and undang ka lang Sijus Masi to all my colleagues who rose to support this measure and this legislation. Mr. Speaker, as we conclude our discussion on Bill number 129-38 COR, as amended, I want to express my deep appreciation to my colleagues and to all those who contributed to the thoughtful consideration of this measure. The passage of this bill would represent a meaningful affirmation of all our collective commitment to language preservation, cultural identity, and historical continuity. Throughout the legislative process, it has been evident that this proposal resonates across generations and sectors of our community. We heard from cultural leaders, educators, and public servants who understand that Ifino Chamorro holds more than just a linguistic value. It holds the memory of our people, the perspective of our ancestors, and the wisdom that continues to guide all of us today. By recognizing February 21st as Haanen Hilanana, Guam becomes part of a larger international effort to bring attention to the significance of indigenous people and indigenous languages. The United Nations designation of the current decade as one focused on indigenous language revitalization provides both context and urgency for our action here today. Our observance will contribute to the global movement while honoring the unique cultural fabric of our island. You know, Mr. Speaker, I've been here for more than 20 years, and I'm married to a very strong Chamorro family. Then we practice a lot of Chamorro cultural celebrations and traditions. This bill does not create a holiday or mandate new expenditures. Instead, it creates space for education, participation, and reflection. It encourages families to reconnect with the language, schools to deepen cultural engagement, and institutions to promote linguistic diversity. I myself have been learning Chamorro for decades. My mother-in-law have taught me, you know, words and sentences in Chamorro. I could say that I could speak probably undididi, but at least I try. So I encourage our community to incorporate it. It's good to be multilingual. I speak Tagalog because I'm Filipina, but I learned Chamorro because it is my family also that is also Chamorro. And my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, they speak fluent Chamorro. So I picked up over the last 2 decades words, sentences, and here in the legislature, I get taught by you know, colleagues like Miss Debbie, who tries to teach me Chamorro. So on that note, I truly have a passion and a heart to push for this bill because it's important. Identity is important. It allows us, this whole legislation allows us to mark a day with purpose and with pride, and to remind ourselves that language revitalization requires not only programs, but also a sense of shared responsibility and ongoing dialogue, most especially within our community. So I want to thank Ikomisyon Ifino Chamorro, Jan Ifinanaguen Historia Jan Ilinala Tautautano for embracing this responsibility with such dedication and care. Their work has long supported the survival and growth of the Chamorro language, and this measure helps to further elevate those efforts. Mr. Speaker, through the adoption of this legislation, we are taking a clear and deliberate step to safeguard a critical part of who we are. I respectfully ask for the support of this body in passing Bill number 129-38 COR as amended, and in doing so, helping to ensure that the Chamorro language continues to live and thrive for generations to come. Siduos Masi to everyone who helped bring us to this moment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to add to bill number 129-38 COR as amended, the following co-sponsors. Oh, I motion. Siduos Masi, Mr.
Did you move your co-sponsors?
Okay, yeah. So at this point, thank you again, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
And I would like to motion to add to bill number 129-38 COR as amended, the following co-sponsors. So for my first co-sponsor, I'd like to add Senator Teresa Lahi, Senator Chris Burnett, Senator Tello Taitagui.
Ma'am, I apologize, but our standing rules state that you can only create co-sponsors for those individuals that are present at the time the motion is made.
Oh. Well, basically, Mr. Speaker, everybody wanted to co-sponsor the bill. So
Do you want to make a?
I was made aware of it beforehand.
Do you want to make a notwithstanding motion, ma'am?
Oh no, Mr. Speaker, of course
I'm just-
not.
Okay. So everybody present?
Everybody was present.
Let's take a recess first.
I'd like to request for a 1-minute recess, Mr. Speaker.
Back from recess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate the patience, everyone. I move to add to bill number 129-38 COR as amended, all senators present.
On the motion to add all senators present.
With Senator Teresa Lai as the first co-sponsor.
With Senator Teresa Lai as the first co-sponsor.
And Senator Tello Taitagui as the second sponsor.
And Senator Tello Taitagui as the second co-sponsor. And then all of the rest of us will be by alphabetical order?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On that motion, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered. You want to move now to third?
Sejusmasi, Mr. Speaker, thank you again. And now I would like to move to place the bill, Bill number 129-38 COR, as amended by the committee and further amended on the floor to the voting file.
On that motion, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered. The 26th bill on our agenda, Senator Shelley Calvo, you are recognized again. Let's take a recess so you can get yourselves in order, okay? 1 minute recess. Legislature's back in session, okay, for the last bill on our agenda. On Bill 130-30, COR. Gentlelady from Barragata, Senator Cabo, you are recognized.
Sejusmasi, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place into the third reading file Bill number 13038 COR, as amended by the Committee on Child Welfare, Youth Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women's Affairs, Disability Services, the Arts, the Culture, Historic Preservation, and Agatna Restoration. Bill number 130-38 COR was introduced by myself, Mr. Speaker, Senator Shelley V. Calvo, entitled An Act to Amend Subsection 1000A and subsection 1000A and sections 1025 and 1037 of Chapter 10, Title 1, Guam Code Annotated, and to amend the title and Section 88102 of Chapter 88, Title 5, Guam Code Annotated, relative to adopting Chamorro orthography for official holidays and to updating the Enabling Act of Ikomisyon Ifino Chamorro, Jan Finanaguen Historia, Jan Ilinala Itao Tautano. Mr. Speaker, I wish to discuss it.
Then move it to the third reading after the discussion. Yes, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I give my opening statement, once again, as the bill's prime sponsor, I would like to move to append a testimony from Ana Marie B. Arceo, COO and Principal of Magalahin Uhurao Chamorro Academy Charter School to be part of the committee report for Bill number 130-38 COR as amended. For the listening audience, Ms. Arceo's written testimony, which expressed support for both Bill number 12938 COR and Bill number 130-38 COR, was submitted to my committee after the committee report was filed with the Committee on Rules. When Ms. Arceo's testimony was submitted to COR, I was advised to make a motion on the floor to append the written testimony to the committee reports. It was the same testimony that I have read earlier during our discussion of Bill 129. So at this time, Mr. Speaker, I would like to move to append Ms. Arceo's testimony to the committee report for Bill number 130-38 COR as amended.
On the motion to append the report or the letter from Ms. Arceo to the committee report, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bill number 13038, as amended, seeks to strengthen the visibility, accuracy, and dignity of the Chamorro language in Guam law. Mr. Speaker, this bill reflects a conscious step forward in our ongoing effort to preserve and promote the identity of the indigenous people of this island by ensuring that our official statutes reflect proper Chamorro orthography. Through this measure, we amend references to outdated terms such as Chamorro and instead use the culturally and linguistically accurate spelling of Chamorro with capital C and H in the beginning. This is not a cosmetic change. This is a necessary recognition of the importance of standardization and respect for the language of the people. The bill renames Guam Discovery Day as Guam History and Chamorro Heritage Day and formally expands Chamorro Week into Mes Chamorro, honoring the reality that the celebration of our history, culture, and values spans far beyond a single week. These updates are long overdue and reflect how our community has already evolved in practice. As we move forward, a future rooted in cultural pride and self-determination, the language in our laws should reflect us, the people of this island, accurately and with respect. Our Guam's ancestors endured the suppression of their language and the marginalization of their identity. Today, we have a responsibility to ensure that the future generation, children and grandchildren, see their culture honored in law, spoken in classrooms, and visible in our public institutions. I want to thank the many individuals who contributed to this effort, especially Dr. Laura Torres-Sauder and the members and staff of E-Commission Ifino Chamorro, whose testimony reminded us of how deeply language connects to our sense of self and community. I also thank my colleagues who have expressed their support and joined us willingly wanted to be co-sponsors in recognition of the value of this work. This measure sends a clear measure that the Chamorro language and the identity it represents deserves a rightful place in the fabric of our government, not only in spirit, but in statute. I respectfully ask for the support of this body in passing Bill number 130-38 and taking this meaningful step together. Siduos Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, Vice Speaker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand in full support of Bill number 130-38 COR. And not only does it just, correct the spelling on some areas, but it also updates this statute as we no longer celebrate Chamorro Week. Now it's Mes Chamorro, and we celebrate a whole month. So updating the statute just goes to show that we continue to recognize our culture and our heritage by updating different statutes to show where we were from, now we're at today. And hopefully one day we'll have the year of the Chamorro, and it'll be something that can be celebrated the entire year. So thank you to my colleague for introducing this piece of legislation, and again, I stand in support. Thank you.
Thank you. On the bill. Any other? Gentlelady from Tumuning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand in support. I was there at the public hearing, and there's always been this rift back in the 80s where if it was going to the spelling of Chamorro. Remember? I mean, nobody could make up their mind how it was going to move forward. So I think the Commission is taking this advantage right now, as being the lead in language to decide on that. So even though we are correcting it in statute and in our books, moving forward, I think that hopefully the Commission will come up with how are we going to change places around the island's signage. But one of the ones that I'm really concerned about is our Guam seal that's right above your head, Mr. Speaker. And the spelling of Chamorro is different. So I look forward to seeing how we can make these adjustments, because there's quite a few places around the island that had the old way of spelling. So other than that, I just bring it to your attention and support the measure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, on the bill. Gentleman from Talavo, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to speak very briefly in support of Bill 130. And I want to build on my comments from the earlier measure and recognizing that Bill 130 really does seek to address inconsistencies that remain within Guam's legal code. I believe this measure is a small but a very meaningful step forward in our effort to practice and preserve our Chamorro language with any and every opportunity that's before us. Mr. Speaker, while Bill 130 might be interpreted by some in this hall to, offer simple changes to law, these amendments speak to the importance of doing what we can as a community, including at the policy level, to support the preservation of our Chamorro language. However, Mr. Speaker, this policy and every other initiative aimed at supporting our Chamorro language are only as good as the work that is put forward by those who desire to learn, practice, and celebrate our Chamorro language. If I can just say this, to encourage the use of our native language requires us to want to learn it and to learn from those who speak it and practice it. Listen to Chamorro music if it helps. never to give up when we are laughed at or struggle to complete our first sentence in our native tongue. I think I've already done that in this hall already, and I continue to do it. I'm trying to get better when I'm outside of this building, not only with others, but importantly with my family as well. So again, I just want to say I support Bill 130, and I ask the good author to be added as a co-sponsor. This is Mossy.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? No other senators? Gentlelady, Senator Cabo, you want to close?
Can I have a 1 minute, Mr. Speaker?
1 minute recess. Legislature's back in session. Senator Cabo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sedus Masi to all of you. Thank you for the opportunity to offer my closing remarks on Bill number 130-38 COR as amended. I am sincerely grateful to my colleagues who have lent their voice and support to this measure, and to the many members of our community, language educators, cultural practitioners, and everyday citizens who have long called for meaningful recognition of Chamorro language in our laws. This legislation is rooted in a shared understanding that language is not only a form of communication, but a reflection of identity. Mr. Speaker, the words are enshrined in our laws. Shape how we see ourselves as a body, how we teach future generations, and how we preserve the stories of the past. For too long, references to the Chamorro people and culture in Guam, code annotated, have lacked consistency and have relied on outdated terminology. This bill takes clear and necessary action to correct that by codifying the proper orthographic spelling of Chamorro, renaming Guam Discovery Day to Guam History and Chamorro Heritage Day, and expanding the observance of Chamorro Week into Mes Chamorro, a full month of reflection, learning, and celebration. This measure does not erase our history. It refocuses how we acknowledge it. It recognizes that the people of Guam are defined by a cultural heritage that stretched back over 4,000 years. It reflects how the people already refer to these holidays, how we celebrate them in our homes and villages, in our community, and how we pass on our language to the next generation. As we consider this bill today, we also commit ourselves to future efforts. There is still work to be done to fully align other statutory references, such as agency names and educational programs, with proper Chamorro orthography. I intend to continue working with E-Commission and with all of you to bring forward legislation that enhances these efforts. Mr. Speaker, I humbly ask this body to support the passage of Bill number 130-38 COR as amended. By doing so, we ensure that our laws reflect the voices of the Chamorro people, the truth of Guam's history, and the promise we make for future generations that the language Ifino Chamorro will not only survive, but thrive as a cultural identity, as a heritage of Guam. Siduos Masi. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I now move to add to Bill number 130-38 COR as amended, all senators present with Vice Speaker Tony Ada as first co-sponsor of the
On
bill.
the motion to add all senators present as co-sponsors with the Vice Speaker to be recognized as the first co-sponsor, are there any objections?
And, Senator Tello-Taitagui as the second one.
To correct that, all senators present to be co-sponsors with the recognition that Vice Speaker Tony Yara is first co-sponsor and Senator Tello-Taitagui is second co-sponsor. Okay?
Yes.
Any objections? No objections? So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. At this time, I would like to move to place Bill number 130-38 COR as amended by the committee and further amended by the committee to the voting file.
And further amended on the floor. You did amend this on the floor. And further amended on the floor?
And further amended on the floor.
On that motion to move Bill 130-38 COR, as amended by the committee and further amended on the floor to the third reading file. Any objections? No objections, so ordered.
Sijus Mase, Mr. Speaker.
Colleagues, we have exhausted all of our items in the second reading file. We will, on that purpose, we'll keep that open and come back recess until Tuesday at 5 p.m. Tuesday at 5 p.m. to vote on all the matters that we have before us. Any questions? No questions? Okay. So colleagues, we're in recess.